Welcome, everyone. This is Polly Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin,
Hi, hi.
Arendis,
Hey, everybody.
Sans Winda,
Hello.
and Cinders.
Hello.
We got quite a crowd tonight.
Yep,
And
full house.
That's right, and we're doing that because we wanted to prove that Cinders and Sans are two different people.
Yeah, and I was available and thought it would be fun.
Yes. Let's then head into our news for this week, where we have the first preview for Update 25 on forward. Yay! Thus, Minas Morgul has arrived. Minas Morgul takes you on an expedition deep into the Morgul Vale in search of answers to a mystery that spans 3,000 years.
Dun, dun, dun.
The words of a certain shade will unearth secrets and visions of the Second Age that have remained untold until now, revealing playable landscape and new adventures from a crucial time in Middle-earth's history.
That's going to be cool.
Yes, this update includes 2 new regions, the Morgul Vale, which is the present-day content, as well as Mordor Besieged, which is during a time after the High Elf intro, but
Yeah, so sometimes still Second Age, right? Technically?
yeah, still Second Age. Yeah, it is because Barad-dûr hasn't fallen yet. So therefore, you'll get an opportunity to see things like an intact Mount Doom. Yes, and the level cap will be increased to 130. There will be new crafting guild benefits, new Black Book of Mordor quests, and
like 4 chapters I saw.
Yeah, it looks like they're
because my deed log updated when I logged in.
Yeah, yes, the deed log updated with some 3 or 4 chapters that are going to be in there. Now, currently live, there is enough of the Black Book open to get into the Mordor Besiege, but as soon as you get there, it comes to a grinding halt there because obviously the rest of it is being held.
Yeah.
Oh, but I can hardly wait to see the rest of it. It was so good.
So excited.
Oh, yes. And you can, of course, read more at lotro.com/MinusMorgul. Some elements of the expansion, including the Shelob raid and new instances, will be released in the near future. Players logging in once the Minas Morgul expansion is released will get their Valor items, expedition supplies, carry-alls, and more. Now, concerning this, just note that the carry-all and the Valor items are going to be delivered to the first character you log into once the expansion is released. So choose that first character carefully.
Yes, and it's recommended to not choose a legendary server.
Yeah. Yes, don't choose a legendary server since the Valor items, I believe it'll be several years before they'll be any good there.
Yeah.
So yes, you want to be able to use your Soliloquy of the Valor probably when the expansion releases, or at least when you have thought of a good character which to use it for. And that takes care of the expedition there. And of course, remember, Borer remained that remained open until Friday, which was yesterday. And the expansion is a still work in progress. There will be bugs and unfinished content and all the like as usual. The character copy was made available to Borer only. They did not have any transfers in there for the other servers for that. So it's still down for the other servers. They only opened it full for Borer. And actually, I finally heard an explanation on why it is down, and it's because of maintenance. Apparently, they're doing maintenance on every single one of the servers, one by one, and that maintenance could potentially interfere and cause trouble with the transfer system. So that was the primary reason which they're doing. Now, Langeville went through this last week. Langeville went through that maintenance, so other servers will be hearing the same thing in the near future, I presume. And Hobbit presents are currently being reworked, and so therefore they were disabled only on the test server only on the test server. Obviously, on live they're still working there. Hopefully they'll all be ready by the time they're released for that. And of course, the usual discussion threads, and I'm sure there's all sorts of fun stuff on saying this is great or this is the worst thing they've ever done, because that's what you always hear on those feedback threads, right?
Yeah.
And yes, and this, of course, is Black Book of Mordor. Characters will have completed Shades of the Swamp, can pick up the next chapter of Black Book of Mordor from Gandalf. Chapters 11.1 and 11.2 are available for preview, and that's when I said that was needed in order to go into the new area. And if you're not caught up with the Black Book of Mordor, you talk to Maid of Lions in the epic book room of the basement of the Isengard Tavern, and you'll complete the previous Black Book chapters, as well as the Shades in the Swamp. And for classes, Runekeeper has received a balance pass. As for crafting was not yet fully functional within the new area. There is a new tier of crafting. I should note that, because did I do any of that in actually no. What I did though was I did do a preview of the cooking recipe. So then on live, I went back and got the already existing items that you'll be needing, since cooking usually these days has half the stuff comes from old recipes and half the stuff comes from the new tier. So I was working on that. So I'll be all ready, which means, of course, that they're going to change it completely by the time it goes live, right? And as for and of course, we have the crafting carry-alls. When Minas Morgul launches, all players who purchase the Ultimate Fan and Collector's Edition will have carry-alls delivered to them. The carry-all helps you consolidate and organize your inventory by storing your various crafting materials inside it using only one slot of space. Because these carry-alls are bound to account, sharing crafting materials amongst your characters becomes easier. The Collector's and Ultimate Editions grant a small crafting carry-all that will hold 10 different types of unique crafting items that'll each stack to 2,000, and the Ultimate Fan Edition will grant an additional large crafting carry-all that will hold up to 50 of unique crafting items that each hold up to 5,000. These items will be delivered once per account, and we delivered, once again, remember, to the first character you log into after Minas Morgul launches. If you play on multiple servers, please make sure that you first log into the server where you want the carry-all to be delivered. Fortunately, if you are only on one server, you'd have no problem, because it'll be delivered to the first character you log into, but you could easily transfer it between characters on the same server. As for emotes, the 11's emote has been scripted to work more consistently. The food items will disappear if the emote is interrupted. As for instances, it's the Guar, the Filth Well, the Gorthod Nur, the Deep Barrow. See,
Both of those sound so like super friendly places.
yes, Gurzum is currently being very stubborn about being defeated, so they turned that off and are going to try it again in the next beta to see how that works. And more instances will be available in the next round of beta, so we'll see about that. And And we're all hoping that the next round of beta will be next week, but that's not currently guaranteed. Actually, if they're going to release Minas Morgul on time, it would have to be next week.
Uh-huh.
Because the week after that is the current scheduled launch date, but we'll see whether or not that holds. As for items, imbued legendary items, when replacing an imbued legacy with another legacy, you now carry over a much greater percentage of the earned item advancement experience. Updates to the legendary weapon and relic damage progressions. This should generally see DPS numbers of these weapons that better compare and track with their offhand versions. And items that grant War Steed appearances can now be consumed while mounted. The Flames of Ankalamir can now be used while mounted. And the War Steed appearances grand accessory once again has its proper appearance on War Steed Pony instead of looking like a basket of sunflowers.
That's a relief.
As for pets, critters summoned from the following housing decorations will now perform their correct emotes while not moving: Nanu's hiding place, hedgehog burrow, and badger house. Nanu's movements has also been slowed down slightly, and when you consider that Nanu is a
It's a
turtle,
turtle?
yes, yeah. I will have to go and check that out since I think it's been a while since I've knocked on Nanu's door. And player characters in the Entmoors and PvP Osgiliath can now use cosmetic outfits.
There was quite an I saw in the thread there was quite an uproar over this note.
Oh yeah.
And one of the comments was, well, this is a terrible idea because cosmetic outfits mean that you could potentially be jumping a light or a heavy armor class that's wearing light armor. And somebody else responded, like, duh, what idiot doesn't check the class of whoever they're jumping? Which, in certain respects makes sense. I believe actually one of the reasons why the cosmetic outfits were not available in PvMP to begin with is because it was a lag issue.
That is a possibility.
Rendering the cosmetics instead of actual gear actually takes memory and stuff, and when you've got all of those people trying to render all of their fancy clothes, it can bog things down. So yeah, I don't really get the outrage over cosmetic outfits in PvMP.
Oh well.
It'll be interesting.
When we've been on for PvMP, Sans and I, there hasn't been like tons of activity most of the time. I think there's only been a couple of times where there's actually been stuff going on, unless it was like a planned evening, like some of the Kins do, where on this evening we're going and you can pick a side,
Yeah.
So to be fair, tell you right now that as a creep in the moors, I have almost never paid attention to how people are geared. I look at the character portrait and the little icon that tells me what class they are, whether that's something I want to nom or just walk away from.
Yep.
You say, oh, this is a bear. I am leaving.
This is a bear. I need to tell everybody to come kill it.
Yes. For quests and adventure areas, assign difficulty tiers 4 and 5 of the Dwarf Holes instances and Kizukala are unavailable while the new instance cluster is being introduced. Assigned difficulty tiers will be available again on selected instances in the future. And fix the door in the Lore Master's specific chamber and in the presence of Saruman. The boss in instance, a venomous strike, will now summon at the correct time. Adjusted the requirements to unlock a Volume 2, Book 3, and Volume 2, Book 8 movies in the movies library. I'm trying to figure out what made that necessary. Various areas have had minor stuck spots, dead spots, and physics issues fixed. Erebor Forging Trust mistrustful doors are now denoted by a blue quest ring to improve their visibility. Sure, a lot of people are going to be happy about that. And monster HP in the 116 to 120 range has been increased modestly to compensate for the increased LI EPS. Overall, pacing should be similar. And as for UIs, fixed an issue where disenchantment examination tooltips would sometimes be clipped along the right edge. And for miscellaneous things, all embers and motes of enchantment, along with all figments of splendor, will have their totals set to a cap of 10,000 if their total exceeds 10,000. I believe we discussed this a little bit last week, where if you somehow manage to finagle more than 10,000 of it through server transfers and all that fun little stuff, you better spend it before the release of the update. It also fixed an issue that could cause a crash on startup on machines with more than 32 logical processors, such as the AMD Threadripper 2970WX and 2990WX. I'm just trying to think. 32 logical processors? Whee! Or actually, that is more than it. That means we probably have some really obscene number. I'm trying to think what your, I guess, high-end multi-threaded games that might come in handy, but it's certainly not need. You certainly don't need 32 logical processors to run LOTRO, that's for sure. And on Bulwer only section, and these are things that, of course, only affect Bulwer, and that is, of course, various changes to the Isengard. I think this is all Isengard stuff, so I'm not going to go into that. So that is what is in store for Update 25. As I said, we're hoping that there will be a preview number 2 next week, and we'll discuss that, if so, when we have next week's episode. So let's head into the LOTRO Beacon, issue number 133, which seems to be a little bit elvish.
Just a little.
Just a little bit there.
And it's showcasing the new cosmetics.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes, she is wearing the new cosmetics there.
Those are the Fall Festival ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. That's what makes that appropriate. All right, fine. For our community spotlight, Extra Life 2019 is here. And you could click on to learn more about their event for the Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. Nathrian's Trick or Treat 2019 thread is a great place to get your welcome mats, and you could bring your finest frippery and most frightening frock to gladden on October 27 at Frights of Fancy. And if you want to get a good hunter, you probably won't get better than watching this. Is this the humorous video?
It's a hysterical video. I love it, and San's been teasing me about it. But to be fair, I've been
laughed
teasing her
entirely too hard at this video. It was really hilarious.
Yeah, after watching that video, we definitely took my guardian and her hunter out, and she kept threatening to leave me and stand behind a tent and laugh at me if I kept aggroing the landscape.
Oh, my favorite bit was the champion class that doesn't exist.
You may have heard the word "shing shing," but it's just a myth.
This is a myth. This class does not exist. Also, calling the bears boardings. I thought that was great. Boardings. The boarding's job is to heal you, and if they fail to heal you, tell them to delete their character and roll a real healer like a mini. But then minis were also derided. And then the silliest class is the Rooney Keeper.
Yeah. I say pretty much every class was derided except the hunter, but
Except
it
the
was really
hunter.
funny.
Of course.
Yeah, it was extremely entertaining, and there was a robot voice in it, so it was like, which is not how the guy normally talks. Like, he's got other videos on his channel that have his normal voice, but I guess it's a meme thing to do like instructional videos with the robot voice. And
that's rather strange.
Oh, I about died laughing though when they were talking about hunter ports. Dropped fellowship at the last second. I was like, oh, that would be so frustrating. We already
or
in the
not
hunter.
be in fellowship to begin with, Sans.
I've had that happen. I was like, Sans, do you remember when? She's like, yes. We're reporting away from Bree somewhere.
I would just like to point out I was not the only one who did not notice that we were not in a fellowship those 2 times.
To be fair, though,
but as the one who doesn't play a hunter, I didn't automatically realize that was a thing that needed to happen.
Well, so the first time it happened to me, I had no idea. I was like, wait, I thought you said there'd be a pop-up. She was like, oh, we're not in a fellowship. I was like, what?
What makes that even better is I had just had that happen with Terry like the week before. Like the 2 times that I did that were back to back.
So this time she'll be like, here, I'll give you a port. I'm like, are we actually in a fellowship?
Yeah. See, that's one of the advantages of being a warden is if the hunter leaves you behind, you can always.
Yeah, well, we were standing outside Bree, so it's not like I was in any great danger at that point, but she went somewhere totally separate from me that would have taken me forever to get there by stables, even swift traveling. I was like, what just happened? She came back, though.
All right, good. And Remediators are playing Halloween and Harvest House music on this Sunday on Langeval. That will be tomorrow from the time of recording, and if you are listening to this after we post it on Monday, it means it's already passed.
Then you missed it.
Yeah. And the Tale of Gondolin on Lindemar will be performed on Laurelin October 22nd. And that will be the day after we post it, sounds like.
Yeah.
In the Kin Hall, Astronor Kinship is based in Creek Hollow, and they're looking for members who speak either English or Spanish and want to run instances and raids. The Kinship is currently recruiting level 120 characters, but anyone is welcome. Please contact Cereblis in-game for more information. That could really make raids really fun if you got half the people speaking English and the other half speaking Spanish.
Right?
I would presume that the raid leaders have to at least be bilingual.
I would imagine so.
Yes.
In a way, though, it would be really cool because you could have, depending on how the groups are split up, it would prevent confusion on instructions per. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Oh, you cut out there, so.
Oh, did I? Sorry.
Everything at the per was lost.
Oh, I was just saying, depending on, like, say you're in a raid where you have to, split up, or like one half goes one way and one half goes another way. The use of different languages could help prevent confusion on, okay, was that person talking to me or my side or anything like that? So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, not important. Continue.
Then let's head into the weekly comment is, what's a good home decorating tip for other players?
During the Harvest Festival, if you have a treat mat, please, please, please put it out. Otherwise, there are very sad bears running around housing developments, unable to eat treats.
You mean like sad hobbits dressed as bears, or like sad Bjornings?
Probably both, but definitely sad hobbits dressed as bears. because it is Fall Festival and you must wear a costume.
Ah,
Fall Festival. And definitely if you want to eat treats. Because you can't pick them
definitely.
up otherwise.
Okay. Anyone else have any tips on home decoration? Okay. I was thinking something. Always include at least a sinister keg and a Mordor door there. Just
I
That
mean, most of my house decorations could be dangerous, so
yes.
there
That way, if
is
someone breaks into your house.
there is never an inappropriate time to have a Yule tree on display.
ominous pools are fun.
Ominous pools are amazing.
Especially if you make it so that other people can use them.
Hmm.
Same thing with the kegs.
Okay. Oh yes, of course. The keg isn't fun if the people can't actually use those things. I mean, the trick is seeing how they react when they finally see themselves in Udun or something like that. Or
If you
actually, no,
get
it
to
won't
see
be
them.
Udun. It'll be it'll be at the second hub where the Mordor door drops you.
See, alternatively, if you don't get to see them, you can just giggle maniacally every time you think about it, because chances are pretty good somebody has had it happen to them.
Especially if you have someone out this who can't tell the difference between a dwarf in a barrel and the writing barrel.
Yep.
Actually, no, you do need to have you probably have to have the proper rep in order, I guess, to
Not for
use
the
the barrel.
housing item.
Oh, not for the housing
For
item?
the
Okay.
one that's in Felgoth, you have to have the proper rep to be able to fall out using it. But for the one in the housing item that just looks like a good place to hide, you could end up anywhere on any character of any level. Not that I've had a low-level character end up at a waterfall and be shot by an orc or anything, but
Yeah, not something to
Also,
take your level 19 character then.
ladies, I
no.
just had a brilliant idea for girls.
Uh-oh.
Remind me, housing items and girls,
Okay.
Will do.
because it's good.
With that, let's head into the fan site news. Yiki is hosting a National Breast Cancer Foundation donation campaign for Breast Cancer Awareness Month through October 30th. Make sure to visit twitch.tv/Yiki for updates and hit the follow button so that you will know when he goes live. More than 12 people stream every week on twitch.tv/LOTRO stream, and we'd like to invite you to join us. You can click here for a list of recent broadcasts, which you can check out to find your new favorite show. YouTube is also the home of numerous LOTRO streamers and video makers. This past week, we've seen new videos from Zogog, Gerald DC717, Benjamin, and Commander Voltec. And even I've been known to post a couple of things there on occasion. And Fibro Jedi once again rocks the guide to the Harvest Mass Festival. Click for the information and pics about this year's events. And of course, it includes the latest cosmetics for that. And Sip writes about 4 LOTRO classes he'd play if he had time. So you can check on his blog for that. What are the classes you'd play if you had time to play them?
Well, I play all of the classes with the exception of the boarding.
Yeah.
Which that's not a time issue, that's a problem with Bjornings.
Yeah. Apparently his 4 that he wrote down were the Bjorning, Stoutak Dwarf Champion, the Hobbit Hunter, and the Dwarf Runekeeper. All right. I have played every. Actually, yeah, because I've gotten Skirmisher Middle Earth on every class. So obviously, I've played at least a bit on every single one of the classes. And this week they noticed a Harvest Mass Festival has arrived, and you can find in-game all the way through November 4th. Endurance Day is here. There's a limited time event, runs until October 21st. As we mentioned before, Minas Morgul is being previewed, and that we have character copies to Bulwer if necessary. And there is a video with Cordovan showing off of the crafting carryall. So of course, you could also go onto Bulwer if it comes up again, and you could check it out there. And I guess you've all had a chance to check out the carryalls?
No, I actually didn't look at the carryall when I was on Boror.
Ah.
I did. My inventory was full, and I picked up the crafting carryall after I figured out where the person was in the crafting hall. They were in the crafting hall in the Isengard, just for the record. And I got it, and I opened it, and I clicked the thing that makes it gather all of them out of your inventory. And I had so much space in my inventory, I was in awe. It was awesome.
I wish you'd taken screenshots.
I should have. But yeah, I went from no space to a lot of space, and it was pretty awesome. And it only took a few seconds. And like, I know there's still, like, reading the forums, there's still some work they can do with them, but I am so excited.
Yeah. Actually, I tried that also, and after doing that, because my biggest problem isn't bag space, it's vault space. So what I did is then I dragged every crafting ingredient that I had in my vault, put it into my bag, of course, gathered that all in there. So now on Bower, I actually had vault space also for the first time in a long while.
Nice.
Yeah. Because, a good section of my vault space is crafting ingredients.
I can second that. I am looking forward to being able to store other things in my vault.
And I didn't check to see, like, if I went to go try to craft, if it noticed that I still had the crafting mats or if I had to drag them back out. Like, I didn't try any of that. I just noticed the extra space, and I was like, yes!
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if they have that functionality yet. I think that's one of those things that they're hoping to do in the future, and we'll hope that.
Right. And I realized, like, I didn't check, like, if I had, like, if I pulled the same thing out of my vault that I had just put in it, if it would stack or if it would try to, like, make a new stack. I didn't check that either. Like, all I did was gather everything out of my inventory, and I was so happy that then I kept going. So
I think if you hit gather, it'll stack it with the one that you've already got. In other words, the new stuff. But I think if you drag it into your bag, it still goes into your bag or something like that. I would have to.
So I'd have to check it more. Yeah. But yeah, I was very pleased to have the space in my bag.
Oh yeah, nice to have it in there. And that is for Beacon issue 133. So let's see what's on sale this week. Let's see, you want to do it, Terry, or you have your voice
I can
back?
do it.
Okay.
All right, so weekly coupon gets you a free Skill and Slayer deed boost ×1 with coupon code Skilled Slayer now through October 24th, and 20% off expansions and expansion quests, enhanced XP supply and Hornburg tokens, so you can do that rush to 120 if you're not there yet. Skirmishes and instances, the 100% mark acquisition boost, and that's all now through October 24th. Plus, it's VIP weekend, I noticed.
Ooh.
Or it was on Boror. I don't know if it is on live, but it was VIP weekend on Boror.
I thought,
I don't think it was on
VIP
live.
week was last week, I thought.
I think it was last weekend. I was all excited. But when we were on earlier today, I didn't notice it. And I was watching. Then
let's head into the site news, where we have another episode of Where in Middle Earth is Emeraldina, and you seem to be in a scary place.
Indeed.
Wearing a
Ooh.
scary costume. I mean, assuming that you're still in the picture.
Of course I was.
I was about to ask.
So that is one of my absolute most favorite costumes. The drawback is it doesn't work on people who aren't around when you put it on. They can't see it. But any characters that are around when you put it on, they can see it whenever they run up to you. And it's the funniest thing to watch the little hobbit grow into this big witch king.
Oh, good grief. And that seems to be in a rather nasty location.
Yep. Although I can't imagine the Witch King of Angmar being anywhere that wasn't nasty.
Well, I will say usually, but you gotta remember is that while searching for the ring, he did go into the Shire.
Yeah, and he got out of there pretty quickly.
Yeah, you got a point there.
He can't hang out.
True. And last week's post was filmed the Vale of Thrain in Ered Luin.
Yep. It was. It was a lot of fun. There were actually 3 foxes altogether, and then 2 of them wandered off before I got my pictures. Sadly. Just little black foxes that aren't actually black.
Now let's head into Aaron. This is pick of the week. And what's your pick this week?
This week, my pick would be Fibro Jedi's Fall Festival Guide. This is really super helpful, at least for me, because I've never done the Fall Festival before. At least I can't remember if I have or not. I don't think I have. And it's even, if I read it correctly, it even has a map of the haunted burrow. So if you are hopelessly bad at directions like I am and get hopelessly lost in mazes, this should help you out. So I'm definitely going to be using this moving forward, and thought that I would mention.
Right. Then let's enter the new player question this weekend. Who came up with the question?
So this question was actually presented to Sanswinda and I this week, and we wanted to know as well. So what happens if a kinship is usurped?
Well, Sanswinda should know this now, right? Okay.
I think I know. So if the kinship is usurped, then somebody else becomes the kinship leader and can appoint new officers and stuff.
Yes. What happens is that if the leader has been away for a certain amount of time, then then it becomes easier and easier, let's say, for someone to declare themselves as the new leader. And what this does is it causes whoever does the usurpation to become the new kin leader, and the old kin leader becomes the successor.
Now, does the old kin leader necessarily become the successor, or can the person who usurps it appoint somebody
No,
different?
it automatically becomes the person who was. Now, the new person could change that, obviously, because the new person could change it, obviously, but by default, it goes to the previous kin leader.
Okay. Have any of you guys ever had a kin that's been usurped?
I'm sorry. Let's just say it happened on Friday.
You had one usurped, or you usurped one?
Let's just say I became.
Let's not talk about this.
Oh boy.
Congratulations,
Pineleaf.
Pineleaf.
Yes, we needed. Yes, we had a number of people who couldn't get made officers or anything like this because we didn't have a kin leader for the last 6 months.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So it's sort of
Conveniently,
a little fiction. Yes.
Pineleaf is an honorable kin leader. I don't think he changed the person who was the successor.
No, I didn't do that. I was the successor before doing that. Actually. We'll see what happens if the person in question finally logs in next week after say what happened.
So that reminds me, Sans. I need to check and see if I have a kin available to usurp.
Hey.
Have you checked your kins lately?
I did check my kins lately, just in case.
It's like you knew this would happen.
Have you checked your kins lately, Terry?
Well, the only one that I really kind of care about is mine, and I'm the only one that's in it. So
That
it's
is
hard for
helpful.
usurpation to take place.
I mean, there are a couple people in it, but they're the ones that are never here. So
I don't know if anybody else feels kind of paranoid, but I feel a little paranoid now. I want to go check all of them.
I mean,
Well, make sure you log in regularly if you're a kin leader. Because
Fair
if you
enough.
do, they can't usurp because you have to be gone for a certain number of weeks before it allows someone to usurp the kin.
Okay.
Now let's
is
head
it still tiered? So, like, at first, like, only the second in command or the officers can usurp, and then everybody can? Or something like that after a certain length of time? Or is it not tiered?
I've not really had an opportunity to test the hypothesis because I would have to go and see when's the last time the leader has been online, compare that to the current stats and whether or not I'm allowed to usurp.
I just had this picture in my head of Pineleaf's little hobbit walking into a kin, going, can I usurp today?
I am in a kin there, which I think in the history of that kin has been usurped at least twice, I think, since I've been a member of that kin. So because kin leaders keep on disappearing.
Fair. I just think it's kind of funny. It's a really funny mental picture, too.
Yeah.
Because Pineleaf does not normally go around usurping kinships just for the fun of it.
No, I don't do it just.
Has Pineleaf ever usurped a kinship for the fun of it?
I've only done it once.
And that was more out of necessity.
Yeah, and you were there when he.
Fair. I just thought I'd ask and see.
And in fact, I believe you threatened to do it yourself 5 seconds before I did it.
I can see that happening.
Maybe. I mean, I was on a recruit who wasn't even a kin member and noticed that I could do it, so.
Yeah, she was a recruit. She didn't even have full. She wasn't even yet a full member of the kin. She's oh, I have this insert button.
I didn't hit it, though.
What great restraint.
It was.
Let's then head into our week in LOTRO. And Terry Adwin, what were you up to?
Well, I, on Land of Alteri, finally finished the story so far. Finally!
Whoop, whoop.
2 weeks before new story comes out, and I'm finally done with existing story. Because I had finished the Black Book of Mordor, but still needed to do the Shades in the Swamp. I still have some landscape questing to do, because at one point we were just like, let's focus on story and at least get that done, because I was kind of really burned out on helping people in the Vales of Anduin.
Right.
Because bears.
Well, that allowed us to finish just in time.
Yeah. So 2 weeks before a new update goes live, I'm finally done with the story so far. And I rolled a new Stout Axe Dwarf because I really needed to do a new Stout Axe because I wanted to do the story again. 3 guesses. You probably only need one as to what class that dwarf was. Sans and Pine, you don't get to guess because you already know.
I'm guessing it was a burglar.
No, I already have a burglar.
Oh, okay.
No, this is new Stout Axe Dwarf. So what class am I most likely to play for new anything?
Champ?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I promptly abandoned him in favor of the Sneaky Dwarf, who is now level 16 and is on his way to Bree. He finished up the prologue in Arid Luin and is headed to Bree.
So, did you name Sneaky Dwarf some version of Sneaky, like as the name, that it would be pronounced as Sneaky?
I did not.
Oh.
No, I actually took it seriously. I played it totally straight with Sneaky Berg. I looked up actual like Baltic type names that would, and it's actually a Lithuanian version of Paul, which means little one. So he's a little dwarf.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually played it. My new Stout X champion is Axelo. So yeah, he's gonna be wielding some axes. And then I had Adventures on Bullroarer, and I talked about this in the pre-show, but people who actually listen to the show don't listen to that. So, Adventures on Bullroarer. So I copied my character over just under the wire because we knew that character copies weren't going to be able to happen after Tuesday night on Landreval. So I copied my character over just under the wire. But it was before we played on Tuesday, so my copied character didn't finish story so far. So I log in and I'm standing in the Bjorning Hoose. I'm talking to Gandalf, and Gandalf wants me to go do stuff, and I really don't feel like doing it because I just did it. So I said, "See you, Gandalf," and then I tried to figure out how the heck I was going to get to Bree because I wanted to go to the Isengard and see what I could do there. And I took like 3 completely unnecessary horse travels to places that were not Bree before it dawned on me that I have a return to Bree on my character. So I used my return to Bree and ended up in West Bree, and then I got lost trying to find the Isengard Tavern. Because there is a way to get to it from Bree, isn't there? Like an entrance from Bree to the Isengard, or is it just in Archet?
I went to Archet because
I've never found it in Bree. I ended up getting totally lost in Bree, and I found myself at the South Gate, and I said, "The heck with this! I'm going to go to Thorin's Hall," because I know in Thorin's Hall it's just like literally across the hall it's around the corner from the stable master. So that was when I discovered that Saramango will actually, usually to up your level in the Isengard, you have to be a new character. Yeah, they actually changed it for this update, so it'll level up your existing character. So zoom, I went to 130. And then I had to try and figure out my gear. And after about an hour spent in the Isengard trying to figure out gear, I have decided that when this new content comes out, I'm not doing my gear. I'm going to take screenshots and hand it to somebody else and say, "Okay, tell me what I need, and I will go get it." And that is how I'm handling gear for the new update, because I'm just not. I did, however, get a bunch of Mithril coins from the person who gives out Mithril coins, and I got my imbued ally all the way topped out. That only cost me about 900 Mithril, so that wasn't too bad.
I love the Isengard Mithril vendor.
Yeah. So then there was the challenge of, well, I'm logged in because I want to see Minas Morgul. That's my whole purpose. Not really looking to preview quests this week. I might take a look at a couple next week, but I'm just looking to preview landscape because I've been super excited to see it. And so I got myself to Mordor. Getting to Mordor was fun because I went back to Bree, and then I tried to port to my house and forgot that on Bullroarer I don't actually have a house. So I went to South Bree again, and I used the stable to the Mag Ashtu port. And then I looked at the map to figure out where I needed to go. And I kept referencing the map as I was on my war steed, heading through Telith Urwi, and then up into Lingris, and then down through Lingris, and then up into the Morgul Vale. And there's Shadow again, which is weirding me out because, like, I thought I was done with Shadow, but hey, Shadow! And I took some really nice screenshots of, like, I get into the Morgul Vale, and there was a really nice shot of Minas Morgul from the top of the Morgul Vale from where you enter at Lingris, and that was really cool. And then I proceeded trying to pick my way over there, and that resulted in a couple of other adventures. Like, there's this bridge that you come across that really you feel like you shouldn't cross this bridge. And as I took a screenshot of it, it's, I totally crossed the bridge because it's me. And poked around for a little bit and discovered massive orcs, and I was like, yeah, I really probably shouldn't have crossed that bridge. So then I got lost trying to get back to the bridge. And after I crossed the bridge, there was a red dot, which is weirding me out to be in areas that are off of Mordor and have red dots, because I thought I was done with red dots in Mordor, but apparently not. So I turn around looking for where this red dot was, and it's this poisonous mushroom. And of course, I'm used to poisonous mushrooms because we saw them quite a bit in the Bloody Gore. My favorite Mordor landscape, Agronite. No, it really is. That sounded sarcastic, but that actually really is my favorite part of Mordor, was the Bloody Gore. I really, really loved being in the Bloody Gore. It's crazy but true.
I'm concerned now.
Well, considering the rest of Mordor.
I mean, of all of Mordor, like I really felt like all of Mordor was very specifically nasty. Like you feel while you're in Mordor that you really shouldn't be in Mordor, and nowhere did you get that feeling than the Bloody Gore, where literally everything is trying to kill you. Like, the vegetation is trying to kill you. The air that you're breathing is trying. There's a quest line that yes, literally the air that you're breathing is trying to kill you. So yes, I really enjoyed being in the Bloody Gore. But back to the poisonous mushroom. I turn around just in time, and I turned my graphics like way up to ultra high so that I could take screenshots, and I turn around just in time to see that the gas that this poisonous mushroom has been exuding coalesces into like this skull face in midair, and then it disappeared before I could get a screenshot of it. But it was awesome. And I stood around for a while hoping it would come back, and it didn't do it again. But things to look out for when you get to the Morgul Vale. And then I overshot the turnoff, so I ended up taking I took screenshots of bridges when I was in the Morgul Vale, basically. And then I finally get up to the gate leading to Minas Morgul. And the words that actually came out of my mouth was, "Oh, look, friends!" Because standing there at the gate are a pair of giant trolls. Kind of like when you get to Osgiliath the first time and you see those massive trolls. That's basically what you have going on at Minas Morgul. And then, like, behind them, you can see some orcs and things that are probably really also not really going to be they're not going to be good for your morale pool, probably. And then right there off to the side is a little stable master, and it's a ranger of Athelion, and he's like cowering, like he's trying not to be noticed by the trolls.
He's probably trying not to be noticed by the trolls.
Kind of really appropriate for the area that we're in, but I'm like, whose idea was it to put a stable master right there?
Some genius.
Like, the most inconvenient spot for a stable master. If you move 2 meters the wrong direction, those trolls are going to smush you. And then you're going to wind up in a res circle, God only knows where.
It's thrilling.
Yeah.
Some people like to live dangerously.
Apparently so.
Then I was done with Bull Roar. And yeah, so I had some really nifty adventures this week. Cinders, how about you?
So I actually had more time to spend in LOTRO than normal. So Sans and I did a little bit of deeding this last week, and I got to learn some new lore master skills thanks to running into Finior on Ledgerval. And he did some deeding with us and was talking about how he only ever runs his character in Yellow Line. I was like, what? I hate Yellow Line. I never run my lore master in Yellow Line. It's all like buffing and debuffing. And he was like, oh, let me show you. And so he was explaining how he uses his skill rotations to get the maximum amounts of DPS, and it's really effective. And so we went back to the Vales and we tried it on some characters that are on levels so that I was actually, having to try to kill stuff. And so I've been running Yellow Line, just trying it out and looking for a skill rotation that I like. And it didn't seem to work too bad today. When Pineleaf and Sans and I went out in the Vales to work on our Black Book of Mordor so that we would be ready, and we finished it. So I'm very excited to have Cinders ready to go into the new content. And Emerlina has finally hit 115, and she is also the proud owner of a moose. And so I'm really excited because my goal is that she'll be ready for new content in the near future, even though obviously it's going to take her a while to get ready for new content. So she's still got 3 or 4 new areas to get through before she's ready for the new content. But she's on her way. Just Guardian DPS sucks currently. So, Sans, how was your week?
My week was pretty good. I got to explore Dingarth on Bullroar and just walked around with my mouth hanging open for was really cool.
We lost you for part of that. At least I did.
Let me try this again. Is this better?
Yes.
So I got to explore Dingarth on Bullroar and totally just walked around with my mouth hanging open for a little while. And then popped back and forth to the ruins of Dingarth that I knew and Dingarth and tried to figure out where things were and walked around with my mouth open some more and opened some stable masters and was thoroughly enjoying being in the second age again on my high elf, who fell asleep during the second age and missed this part of it.
Yes.
And she felt a little bit out of place, though. She wasn't seeing her armor anywhere and kind of felt like maybe she really had fallen asleep at a bad time.
I wonder why she feel like that.
Right? I mean, there wasn't really anything she could do about it. She woke up again, so that was good. But yeah, kind of feeling like she stepped right back in time. So that was cool. And then I tested her. I went to a reflecting pool, and I tested her survivability against because she's a runekeeper, against the instance that killed her twice. And she made it through. I noticed that her fire runestone actually did damage to the mobs before it was killed. It was still killed real easy, but it did a noticeable amount of damage, which was really good. Way better than the damage that it was doing before, which was none. Because they were avoiding it really easy. So that was cool. And she made it through without even coming to the point of almost death. Her health went down below half, but it didn't go down to almost nothing. And it didn't kill her. So I was so thrilled. I was like, yes, this is doable. She is more survivable. And then I went back in on live just to make sure I hadn't just misremembered the difficulty of the instance. And she totally died again. And I was like, yep, I think this was a good improvement. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they continue to do with the Runekeeper. I didn't do any serious parsing of DPS, but she had just enough extra to be able to survive that instance, so that was good. And then on the live servers, I finished the Black Book of Mordor on Sanswinda and Calandrian, and Sans earned her Man Dance 3 emote this week. So she's been completing some things that needed to be completed. And I went festivaling with Gwyrindis, and it was a lot of fun. And I got a new mount for Sans and a few boo emotes. So that was pretty cool. How was your week, Gwyrindis?
My week was actually pretty good. I was able to play for the first time in a while, and it just felt good to get back in game. I've been working my way through Mirkwood for the first time. Currently level 64, so we're scooting along. I figured out that wandering around Mirkwood at nighttime is kind of insane, just because of, at least on my graphics card, just how dark it can get and how much you have to rely on the mini map. And thank goodness for floaty names, otherwise I would have pulled the entire forest by myself. On one of the routes I was taking, I accidentally fell into a pit known as the Dreadweaver's Lair. And that was exciting because, one moment you're walking along a cliff and suddenly you're in a spider's den and there's spiders everywhere and they're as big as you and you start panicking just a little. And then you turn around and there's a giant spider in the corner, so you nope your way out of this place as fast as possible. Luckily did not die, but it was pretty cool, I guess, in hindsight, but in the moment it was kind of panic inducing there for a second. Working my way through the epic story, and got to volume 2, book 9, chapter 5, I believe it was, where you're trying to rescue the two dwarves. And since it's been a while since I played, I did not realize that you could find, I guess, what you would call illusion dwarves. So I found one dwarf and I clicked on him and I was like, okay, great, I guess I found the first one. And then he vanished and nothing happened. So I thought, okay, did my computer glitch? Did the game glitch? Let me just keep going and see what's going on. I found about 5 or 6 more of these phantom dwarves and got progressively more frustrated at the quest line. Finally found the 2 correct ones, but I think that was the first time that I got that frustrated on a quest. I was literally riding around in circles going, okay, either the game's broken, my computer is broken, or this is supposed to be happening. And none of those would be a good thing, but luckily we got through that. So, but it was still fun overall. Pineleaf, how was?
I'll begin with my main warden on Crick Hollow, where I went back to Scarhald and finally gained kindred with them. But even more important than gaining kindred in Scarhald is I've managed to go and complete all of the pages in the Northlands, which means now I have a nice bookshelf in my house instead of this big stack of books. Actually, it was a few additional books to my existing stack because I still have the Mordor stack to worry about.
They stack? You don't have to have like individual spots for each book?
Oh, I just moved them so that they will.
So they look like they're in a stack?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to manually do the stacking.
I was like,
and it's very
what?
tricky to do.
That makes more sense. I thought I'd missed something really awesome. I was like, what? I can do that.
Yeah. So I still have a stack of Mordor books, but I also had a couple extra in the stack that were from the Northlands, and I just was able to put all those Northland books into a way because now I have a bookshelf that includes all of my Northlands books. Maybe someday I can go and finish up the last couple of ones in Mordor, except I believe that requires you to do the raid, is it, that you have to do in order to get them all? It probably explains why I haven't done that. And after I joined Sands and Cinders on their little trip and finishing up the Veils of Anduin, I went and finished up the pages there also. So now I also have a bookshelf on Langeville. So I've got one on Crick Hollow and one on Langeville. Then on my Honor Warden, I tracked down an old goat. And that means I finished the Slate of Shadows quest line concerning Gwillian. And I also then, after that, ran Stormal Methodist just so that I could finally kick Gwillian in the teeth.
I'm kind of disappointed because when I saw that you'd tracked down an old goat, I thought maybe you'd gotten the little pocket item from Moria. I was like, wow.
Pocket items for
I was
Mordor?
like, that totally rated as something he did this week? That's impressive.
Oh, you're talking about that one?
Where you're
That
tracking
pocket item?
down a goat.
Goat. Yeah, all right. Yeah, no, getting petrified droppings is not right on my.
That's I was like, wow. That must have been an adventure.
No. It was the thing about, and that's because that's what they call the deed when you're first starting to look for Gwillian. They call it tracking an old goat. So that's why I use that particular terminology on there.
Oh, I did not know that, and I have tracked her.
Yeah.
I need to pay more attention.
Yeah, that's the name of the deed where they give you all those pop-up quests that are well, semi-pop-up quests because it's the person the ranger that you're traveling with that gives you the quest. But if you don't stand in the right spot, it's like, okay, will you give me the quest finally? Yeah, that type sort of frustration. Then on Bull Roarer, I took a little tour of the new areas. I went into the Second Age area, so I had a chance to look at Mount Doom when it's still intact. And Mordor looks very different. It doesn't exactly look like a pleasant vacation spot, but it doesn't have the total absolute positive waste appearance that you have, of course, in the main section of it, because it's had 3,000, I guess, fewer years of being the dark land and all. I mean, as I said, it's still not a place where you want to take vacation. Or would you, Sam? You said you went there?
I think she stepped away for a moment. She did go there, and she was really impressed with the architecture. I don't know that she would want to, like, go visit.
Yeah, it's not exactly a place where you want to build your summer home, right?
Right.
Or your winter home, I guess, more likely, since seeing how far south it is.
Yeah.
Right. So I went into the new area of Mordor, took a look at a few things in there, and all right, got an idea on that. There are some questions about the height of Barad-dûr, I think, during this particular version of it, and it could be engine limitations or something like that. But it's certainly not at its greatest height here, unless, of course, I don't know how high Barad-dûr was. It's usually when I see descriptions of how tall Barad-dûr is, I'm assuming that's at the Third Age before Sauron falls. I don't know how tall it was before that. And what else have we got in there? Oh, yes. Then after that, I then went to the Morgul Vale, and unlike Sanswinda, I got to the Morgul Vale by going to post-battle Osgiliath and heading directly that way. So I entered in through the other entrance, which, based on what Sanswinda described, I think was a much easier direction in which to go in. I then went around through. Where's that Terry's description? I forgot which one said they went that way.
Which way?
How did you get into the Morgul Vale when you did your inspection?
Oh, from Langris.
Oh, you went through Langris, right? And I went through. Yeah, I went. Yeah, near Osgiliath, so I went through the opposite direction. Then after that, I went around and tried touring the place a little bit, of course, and found that stable master that Terry Edwin was talking about earlier. See, trying to figure out, all right, we're going to use this stable master. Boy, you better be careful when you come here. And next to the stable master, there is a rare Mordor chest. So it's like going, all right, can I get it without talking to the trolls? Now, I was I was level 120. Terry Adwin was level 130. So you could see that I was a little bit more in trepidation there. Apparently, those are disciplined trolls because I'm sure that if they were set to normal aggro range, in other words, adjusted for level and all that stuff, I cannot think of any way they would not have seen. So I have a feeling that they've tightened the range of those particular ones so that you're not going to be bashed on the head as soon as you stop at the Sable Master or something like that. Because I could just imagine you walking into a battle if you came in there and they had a huge aggro range. And that's what I did this week. So let's look into our news beyond LOTRO, where we have another new poem by Darren Loremaster, Fire on Weathertop. Flash went the staff as blue fire burns the stone, but riders were strong. The wizard alone. Weathertop, a watchtower, built in happier days when honor in the north was created and raised. Many towers of strength to keep watch in the north till the envy and malice of Mordor went forth. And honor was betrayed to the death. Even so, Arnor fell in the centuries of so long ago. In a circle of fire, one hand raised up a sword with a steel blade of starshine. His theurgic ward held the Black Riders back. Gandalf's voice chanting rose, speaking runes power potent, whose force fell like blows on the riders, whose voices rose up with a wail, like hell's wights in their barrows, whose caterwails hail. Fiendish death and destruction to fools yet alive, searching barrels and thinking with the darkness to strive. Next, O wizard unyielding brought Hellas's flame to sweep all the hill among soul of old fame. The riders driven back, shrieking anger and loss as its flames leapt to the stone to fell crevice and foss. Though the nine all that night kept the wizard at bay, their dark powers diminished by dawn the next day. So then Gandalf escaped them and rode to the north, leading four in pursuit as he galloped fast forth, drawing off, as he hoped, the riders from his friends, who to Rivendell journeyed with Strider, who wends secret paths through the wilderness, wild and fell, to make safe his return to the Dale Rivendell. Whee! We currently have 16 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast of your choice or EMB guest with us for an episode of LOTRO Players News. The Players Alliance did not receive any emails this week, but if you'd like to send one, you can send it to podcast@LOTROPlayers.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at the Players Alliance @PlayersAlly, LOTRO Players @LOTRO Arendis @Arendis, Pineleaf Pineleaf Needles, Senswinda @Senswinda, and Terry Adwin @Terry Adwin, and Cinders @Emeralina. The Players Alliance has two shows on Mondays at 7 p.m. US Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News, and on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. US Eastern Time, we have LOTRO Players News. Each of our shows at LOTROPlayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pilot Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.